of snow continued to fall outside of my office, my thoughts turned to the string of tenants who had left my property in the recent months. Well, stop, let me say this before we get started. I've been buying and selling real estate since I was 19 years old. And it's one thing that I know for sure. People don't leave a good piece of property in a decent neighborhood where it's quiet and safe and sound unless there's something wrong. And these tenants had been living here for over a decade. My original set of tenants had been living there for over a decade. But now it seemed like no one, absolutely no one, stayed there longer than a few months. The first tenant to leave was Miss Johnson. Poor woman disappeared without a trace during a power outage. When I went to check on her apartment, I found that she had left in a hurry and couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. A few days after that, Miss Johnson called me, her voice trembling in fear, recounting the night that the power went out. She claimed that a tall, thin figure with long arms, hair all over its body, glowing, with glowing green orbs for eyes, had broken into her apartment. She went on to describe this thing as having yellow and pointed teeth. And I need you to listen to me and understand. People move in and out of properties all the time. But you should have heard her voice as she described this thing pushing the back door open. Not kicking, not barging, just putting its hand on the top of the door and pushing it. And the entire door frame caving in. And that detail I was able to confirm when I had visited the property. The back door had been pushed in. The next person that left was Jason. And I need you to understand, Jason was a tough guy, a mechanic. He had done time for armed robbery. And he claimed that there were monsters in the woods behind the property. This guy moved out as soon as he moved in. Now, in order for you to understand what happened next, I need you to understand my mindset. Do I believe in monsters and demons and ghosts? I believe anything is possible, yes. But did I believe that there was some kind of monster or demon or ghost at my property? No, it didn't make sense at all. Why all of a sudden, after all these years owning this property, that right now, in this moment, all these people were moving out and nobody wanted to stay there? In my mind, had the house been haunted or demon possessed as they claimed it was, that would have been manifested itself. Why all of a sudden? Now, that was the mindset that I was in when I entered into the woods to investigate it myself. And I'm not sitting here telling you that that was the correct mindset to have. I'm just simply telling you that was my mindset. And let me tell you one more thing to be absolutely clear with you. I didn't have any knowledge of monsters, no knowledge of Bigfoot, no knowledge of Dogman, none of this weird, creepy stuff that you guys talk about. This is what I went into the woods with. So now I go to the property, park out front, circle around and go off into the woods. I get no more than 75 to 100 yards in the woods and it's freaky. I'm talking about weird silence, cold spots, and I'm looking around and there are these structures hanging from trees. And what I mean by structures is these circles woven out of twigs and they're hung from tree branches with vines. There's these little X's made of sticks on the ground. And there's tree limbs broken off at all kinds of heights. Now in my mind, I could write off the circles hanging from the trees. Was it weird? Absolutely, it was weird. But for all I know, it could have been a person back there playing around. But that feeling, that underlying feeling that something was wrong, that silence, that eeriness, I couldn't write that off. That was a feeling that followed me home that night. And I'm not sure if you completely understand what I'm saying to you, but I've never had a feeling follow me home. You know, normally a feeling is temporary. You feel a certain way about a certain thing. It's in the moment. It may last with you for a little while, but it goes away. No. This followed me. That same feeling. When I got home and put the key in the door and went inside, I felt like I wasn't alone and it felt eerily quiet. When I went to take a shower and I was in the bathroom behind the shower curtains, I still had that feeling. And that night when I went to bed and I climbed under the cover and turned off the lights, that feeling became more and more intense. So much so that I found it hard for me to even go to sleep. And then at 3 o'clock in the morning, I started to hear this noise, scratching and tapping outside of my window. And that sound was accompanied by this fear unlike anything I've ever felt. The best way to describe that version of fear that I was feeling was confirmation. Confirmation that something freaky and weird was going on. So now I'm getting out of the bed, heading over to the window, pulling up the blinds, and there's nothing there. The following day, I go back to the property and another tenant in that fourplex is telling me that he's moving out. So now I have 3 empty units, and I haven't had 3 empty units in a long time. But now I have 3 empty units that I have to try and rent out. So I go through the process of contacting my realtor, telling him that I need his support in getting more people in there. We get 3 leases signed immediately. It's a magnificent piece of property. It's beautiful. You will want to live there if you needed a place to live. And guess what? Everybody puts down their deposit. They're there for 3 weeks. And then all 3 of them move out. So now I'm really struggling with the situation because it's costing me money. More money than it's cost me since I bought this property. So I decide I'm going to go ahead and go over there and spend the night myself. Now, mind you, it's a 4-plex. There's only one tenant left. That tenant's name is Robert. And Robert just so happened to not be home. So that night, I find myself alone in this 2-bedroom 4-plex all by myself. And I just wanted to see what was going on. Because each of those people that moved out claimed that they were seeing orbs that looked like eyeballs outside at night in the backyard, and that those orbs or eyeballs would come towards the windows and come towards the back doors and look at them, then fade back into the woods. They said when they were bringing the trash out at night, they would hear the sound of tree limbs snapping so loud that it sounded like gunshots. In my mind, in order to understand what was going on with that piece of property, I had to experience it for myself. And that's what I did. I went there at 7:30. The sun had gone down an hour prior. And I just sat there on the floor in the living room, cell phone in hand, scrolling on my phone. 8 o'clock rolls around. Nothing. 9 o'clock rolls around. Now I'm watching a movie. 10 o'clock rolls around. I get up, leave, go get me something to eat and come back. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I'm starting to get sleepy. 1:30, I doze off to sleep, laying right there on the carpeted floor. 2 a.m. I hear a noise. It startles me. 2:15. It sounds like someone is outside scratching on the walls. 2:30. I'll never forget it. That scratching gets louder and louder and louder. And now I muster up the courage to go to the back door, open it up, and look out. And the woods surrounding that property have what looks like glowing eyeballs everywhere. You know what it made me feel like? It made me feel like whatever it was in those woods was watching me, watching this 4-plex as if it was entertainment. Like it was toying with the residents of this building. I remember standing at the back door. It's wide open. My feet are pressed right against the threshold, too afraid to go outside. And those giant orbs, which I believe now were eyeballs, blinking at me, as if all of these things were watching me. I had all of their attention, and I could feel that their attention was directly on me. Let me explain something to you. Remember I told you about the confirmational fear that I got prior to this? This was way beyond that. This was primal fear. I felt like I had gone back in time to the caveman days, and I was standing at the mouth of the cave. And outside in the jungle, surrounding me were predators. And they were all waiting for me to venture out of that cave into the darkness. And that wasn't something I was going to do. Nope, I wasn't doing it. So I closed that door, made sure I had my keys, made sure I had my cell phone, went back out of the front door, got into my truck, and drove back home. That ride home was a sober ride because I'm thinking to myself, that's a lot of income I'm about to lose. But you know what? I can't own the property that I can't rent out. So that following morning, call my realtor, tell him put it up on the market. He puts that property on the market and it sells immediately. You want to know why? Because it was beautiful, fantastic piece of property. I mean, I feel like that was one of the best that I had in my inventory, but I couldn't own that. And I couldn't be responsible if something happened to one of those tenants. So I let it go. So if you would have asked me the question, do I believe that Bigfoot exists? Do I believe in ghosts? Do I believe in demons? Do I believe in leprechauns? Oh, hell yeah, I believe in them. Hell yeah. Because I saw this with my own 2 eyes. I believe.